Hello, my name is Mercury, and welcome to this brand new episode of Media Buffet. Today, I will be discussing the second season of X-Men The Animated Series Season 2. I just skipped over the part where I say, I am alone and whatever the fuck, but whatever. You guys know I'm always fucking alone. I'm kidding now. This came at a very topical time, I will say. Yesterday, right? Yesterday or the day? No, on Wednesday, last Wednesday. Marvel announced the cast for Avengers Doomsday, and had quite a bit of surprises in there. Obviously, there was a lot. I want to talk about it for a bit, just in here. I'm probably not gonna make an episode on the cast itself. I don't see the point. I'll just wait for the official trailer to come out, probably around December. That's probably when we'll see a trailer for Avengers Doomsday come out. So I'm gonna be mostly just kind of waiting until then. But I wanna talk about it here for a little bit because it's kind of topical, especially with some of the things that they use, some of the things they alluded to in that in a little like 5-hour stream. I watched the entirety of that 5-hour stream. I will not deny it. I was one of those people that fucking sat there and looked at chairs for 5 hours. I will not deny it. Obviously, starting off, there's a lot of characters that are in here that make sense, honestly. Like for example, where can I find it? A lot of characters make sense in here. Like for example, this is the worst list ever. I think this might be it. This might be good. Jesus Christ, I hate news articles so much. Fuck it. Deadline, please. Make a hit. Give me deadline. Give me something. Give me something. Come on. I just need a list. I just need the list of the people. But before we kind of get into it, so yeah, it was a bunch of characters that we knew were gonna be in the movie. What the fuck? Can I not get a full cast? IGN, come on, please. Give me, god damn it. Anyways, it got about a lot of them. A lot of them were in here. I'm just gonna go to fucking Doomsday to the MCU wiki. Fuck it. Yeah, we have a lot of them. For example, this confirmed. Like, there's a little bit of them that in this wiki that come from weird sources that weren't Marvel. I'm just gonna talk about the ones that Marvel officially confirmed. There were some we already knew of, which were obviously Doctor Doom, the Fantastic Four. We knew that, like, Marvel said the Fantastic Four and the Thunderbolts were going to be in Doomsday and Secret Wars. This is the only ones that can really confirm that were confirmed. The trailer later confirmed Captain America, Thor, Shuri's Black Panther, Ant-Man, Namor was a very big surprise, Shang-Chi, and like Sentry, Falcon, and Baku Loki, a bunch of characters from MCU, and then they revealed, Beast, Kelsey Grammer Beast, which makes sense to have Kelsey Grammer Beast, because that was a plot point from the Marvels that was left open. What's weird is that they didn't announce Tywin Paris Iman Vellani nor Brie Larson to be in this movie, which is interesting because you would or Lashana Lynch, which is interesting because that's like I think that would be the main plot point. Maybe they're keeping their cards close and not wanting to reveal what it's actually about. But yeah, and then like again, Casting Armor Beast. Then they revealed a bunch of X-Men, Professor X, Magneto, Nightcrawler, Mystique, Cyclops, Gambit. Like, yeah, and they used the X-Men 97, like, not X-Men 97, but definitely, like, the X-Men animated series, like, themes and all of that stuff to introduce these characters. And this team, at least not Professor X, Nightcrawler, Cyclops, and Gambit, those specific X-Men appeared in X-Men 97. So I'm thinking that sure, these are going to be our main guys. We might see others like Jubilee, Jean Grey. I don't see a world. I don't see a world where Cyclops isn't. Jean Grey isn't with Cyclops in this. Weird ass decisions. I get why maybe Wolverine and Deadpool aren't in this, but whatever. So I think this will probably Beast too. He's not like these characters were part of the X-Men 97 team. So what I'm gonna guess is that these characters are gonna come from the universe we saw in the Marvels, but they will be based on the X-Men 97 team. So yeah, that might be what it is. That's all I wanted to say. It's interesting because this is revealed and this episode was supposed to come out way earlier in the month. This episode is technically 20 days late. So yeah, I am I need to get quick. Hopefully throughout these next few days, more episodes. I can get more episodes out from this month and not have a lot of them bleed over to April. But we'll see. I'll try to keep us back on track. But yeah, that's all we're gonna say. Like I'm not gonna make an episode on it, but I just wanted to comment on it since it was very interesting and very topical that I waited this long to make that fucking episode and to make this episode, and this eventually came out. So cool. But yeah, going back to what we're supposed to be talking about, what I'm supposed to be talking about, X-Men, the animated series season 2. So, for those of you who don't know, or I guess maybe you do, you probably do, I am going through the entirety of, like, throughout these next few months until I calculated, and the last episode should come out in May, of the coverage, is that I'm going through the entirety of the X-Men animated series. And I'm gonna be reviewing it. Hopefully, and that'll be done before season 2 of X-Men 97. So just get caught up with that series. I will also eventually be doing it the entirety of the 90s Marvel animated universe. I'm not doing them in like release order, like through the seasons, but I am doing them in release order of the shows proper. So next up will be the Iron Man show. After this, so cool, and a lot of them except the Spider-Man one, except the Spider-Man animated series are just 1 or 2 seasons, so it won't be that long. But yeah, we're continuing with X-Men the animated series because why not? And hopefully. Hopefully, like the other episodes will come out on time. I know that the season 3 episode was supposed to come out tomorrow, but that won't be happening anytime soon. So that might bleed into April. And I can promise, hopefully, if we get back on track, I can promise that the next X-Men animated series episode should come out in April, and then one in May. So it's gonna be maybe like it's not how I planned it to be, but hopefully it'll be it'll go back on track to how I wanted them to release. But let's get into it. So last time, where we left off is that I thought that the series was good, but it was definitely missing a lot, and there was and I don't know. I felt like the writing of the show. Sure, it's a it's a Saturday morning cartoon. It's not like the peak of television, even though a lot of Saturday morning cartoons are hailed as pretty good. But I wasn't seeing it with season one, so I wanted to see how the other seasons handled the X-Men mythos and all that. I felt like season one uh, went through a lot of stuff very fast, so we'll see here if it got better. So let's just kind of get into with what we always start off with for these kind of shows, the animation and action. I feel like it's pretty much the same. It's better. I feel like it's better. Sure, we're still dealing with 90s Saturday morning cartoon 2D animation. It's not the best, and it's definitely not the best that this specific like line of television shows has seen. But I do think it's better. There's less animation errors to my knowledge. From what I saw, there's less animation errors. There were some in season one, but there's less here, and I do appreciate that. And the action, I won't like. It's Saturday morning cartoon action. It's not gonna be the best thing ever, but I feel like it's a lot more improved in this season. In this season, they do have a lot more interesting fights, and a lot more interesting and there's a lot more mutants in here. So so they have more things to play with. And I don't, and yeah, just I think it's very cool, and I liked it a lot. I like the action here a lot better. There's a lot more of it in this season. At least that's what I feel like. There's a lot more of it. But like there's not much more to say about that, because it's kind of like mostly the same. There's not much that changed between both seasons, and that's there was a year between seasons 1 and 2. And the improvements are definitely apparent, but they aren't massive. They aren't on a really grand scale. So I don't know. And also, I was gonna mention this at the end, but I want to mention it now because I feel like it's topical of the animation and all that stuff. After this season, I'm expecting a drop in animation, and that's because for those of you who don't know, seasons 3 and 3 to 5 were put 3 specifically was pushed around a lot. And the series got a bit weird with release dates around this time. And well, what happened was that season 3, a lot of the episodes had a lot of animation errors, so they were forced to push them back to seasons 4, and not push them back, but these episodes from season 3 aired during season 4 and 5, even though they are considered to be part of season 3. It was just that they aired season 4 and 5 early to compensate for the lack of season 3 episodes, if that makes any sense. Also, I have lied to you. The thumbnail of this episode shows Dark Phoenix. That's next season. I took these from the box art of the box art of the DVD sets for the series. So volume 2 of the DVD sets features Phoenix, Dark Phoenix, and it's all about the Phoenix Saga. But I made these thumbnails before knowing that, so and I wasn't gonna change it because I didn't know what to change it with. So yeah, just a little bit of a heads up. I'm not gonna be. There's nothing. There's no Phoenix. That's next season. That they did both Phoenix Saga and Dark Phoenix, which wild. But yeah, just wanted to mention those things. But let's move on to sort of, I think, the big thing that this series, that this season really improved upon, the characters. So there's a lot of characters. Let's be fucking for real. There's a lot of characters in this show, and I'm gonna talk about it much more extensively later. But this season had a big focus on the characters and their stories. So I highlighted the ones that I put the ones for the X-Men that I thought had big moment, that had these focus-centric episodes on them. These episodes center around them first, and then I'll talk about the other X-Men much more like in a general sense. So we're gonna go in order, starting off with Storm. I like Storm's characterization in here. I will admit it. I will absolutely fucking admit this. I don't know much about the X-Men. I grew up with the MCU. I've only seen X-Men Days of Future Past and the Deadpool movies, but that's really about all I've seen from the X-Men scene. And X-Men 97. I've seen X-Men 97, which is why I'm watching this. So a lot of the X-Men lore is very alien to me, in a way. So seeing a lot of characterization for this for these characters, and seeing all the origin stories is a bit weird for me, because I realized that these it's the X-Men are so weird, and mutants are really, really weird when it comes to this, when it comes the lore and stuff. But then I realized oh yeah, it's they were made to be part of they were made in Marvel, so they have ties to other Marvel characters. It makes sense. So and that surprised me with other characters like Rogue. Well, I did look it up why Rogue could fly, and I realized she stole Miss Marvel's powers. Because I realized, I think last season, one of the characters who could fly asked Rogue why she could fly, and I think she said that she didn't know or something. I don't know. But Storm, back to Storm. So Storm's characterization and her lore here kind of surprised me. I didn't know she came from a village in Africa. That was surprising. I didn't know she had a son. But yeah, and I liked how her episode tied her with stuff from her culture, and I liked how we saw how much she cares about her culture and all that stuff. I like that about Storm. In the last season, she got characterization with her fear of closed spaces and all that stuff. But in here, I like it a lot. I like what we saw here a lot, and I like the characterization they gave Storm in this season. Next up is Wolverine. I like Wolverine a lot. He got the most. I'm gonna be real. He got the most. He got 2 episodes pretty much centered around him. With one of them being about his time on the what were they called? The Alpha Force. Yeah, the Alpha Force, which are a group of Canadian mutants, or Canadian heroes, in general. I don't know. And his history with more history of Sabretooth. and also he got a big role this season with him trying to help Morph and all that stuff, and that's cool and all. That's cool, but he got like episodes like in the season. It was like mostly about Wolverine, and Wolverine, even last season, got a lot of stuff. But I like how we learn more about Wolverine's past and how he deals with situations and all that stuff. Cool that we learned that about him. And also much more of his past, and we actually got to see his Weapon X origins. Very, very cool. So, I think Wolverine has gotten a lot of attention in this show. And that's because Wolverine, he's the face of he's the X-Men, Like, he is like the face of the franchise. Even though Cyclops might be the leader, Wolverine is the cash cow. He's a moneymaker here. So, yeah, I understand why he got a lot of I get why he got a lot of episodes and it got a lot of attention, but I feel like some of it could go to other characters, especially in this season, that gave a lot of attention to characters. There are some here that I feel like we could have seen some more attention given to them, but that's neither here nor there. That didn't happen. A lot of it was given to Wolverine. A lot of it has been given to Wolverine. He's been a big part of it all. So, yeah. I like what they gave him again. Like his history with the with Alpha Flight. It's not Alpha Force. Alpha Flight. What this is history with Alpha Flight. His history with as Weapon X. With Sabretooth and how the leader of the Friends of Humanity, Graydon Creed Jr., is the son of Sabretooth. Yeah. That was cool. I didn't expect that to look that up. And yeah, that's real. So, I like that a lot, Wolverine. I just feel like a lot of the things were given to him, and that's more. I think that's more of a plot critique, but he's the main guy. But it's a bit disappointing to see a lot of stuff given to him. Next up is Gambit. Gambit, I like a lot. I like what we gave him. What they gave him. It's a bit goofy, to be completely honest. Like the what was it? The guild of assassins, how they look like, and the guild of thieves like looking a bit like they look a bit more normal, and then the guild of assassins look very like super villain-esque. It's so weird, but I like that we actually got characterization for Gambit after last season. Sure, we did get some of it with him like saving the Senator Kelly. And him being the one to break everyone out during the Genosha stuff, like that one that's pretty cool, and I like that a lot. And here we got much more of his origins, which in the first season he was very he didn't want to talk about, and didn't want to reveal a lot about that. And now here, I like it a lot. This is the most I think. I think Gambit has gotten some of the most characterization aside from like Wolverine and a lot of stuff. So yeah, and I understand why. And I guess like that's character I'll talk about. But we'll get to her later. But yeah, I like pretty much everything to do with Gambit. In this show, I think he's one of the best characters here. So yeah, I just like what they did here. I like how they tied in with like the Cajun origins and all that stuff. And his origins are a bit goofy with him, like with the Guild of Assassins, the thieves having to bring in the tithe to this, I guess, goddess every 10 years. Like It's a bit goofy, but I I think I think it kind of works, and probably sorry I had this in the comics, so whatever. At least at least this show doesn't have much of a reason and doesn't really care if it's like does it has a reason and doesn't really care to be accurate to the comics. So yeah, I appreciate that a lot that they've been able to adapt the stories of these characters very very faithfully. Next up is Rogue, and I was what I was talking about that she like in here. We kind of got a tease of what Rogue was all about last season with their ties with Mystique. And we see a lot more of Mystique in this in the show. But yeah, I like a lot what they did with Rogue. Last season we got like she didn't really want her powers because of what they entailed, like her stealing like the life force of people and all that, like the energy of people. And here, like we see how she was taken advantage by Mystique. I was always confused as to how Rogue was Mystique's like daughter in like from ever since I saw X-Men 97. But here we got it. We learned more, and it's actually that it's mostly like an adoptive daughter instead. So yeah, I like that, and we see how Rogue and how Mystique has affected Rogue, and we see again her origins of Miss Marvel and also Carol Danvers Miss Marvel, and again and also how Miss Marvel's like psyche. As like hurt Rogue for years. It's I think it's really cool, and it's also cool to see like the characters in here and like other characters from other Marvel's things in here. That's cool, and definitely an iteration like Miss Marvel. Carol Danvers Miss Marvel, which we won't really see a lot of anymore because that Carol Danvers is mostly associated with the Captain Marvel name now instead of the Miss Marvel name. That's mostly Kamala Khan. So cool to see that, even though this was the 90s and this is before Kamala Khan. This is like 2 decades before Kamala Khan. So, whatever. Yeah, cool to see a lot of stuff about Rogue. I really like that. Next up is Beast, who wasn't very present in the last season, but he was given much more of a presence here. We see how people view him and how he doesn't really care, and we see like how he wants to help people, but some people don't really appreciate it, like don't really like how he looks and all that, and we see him trying to fight with those urges and not wanting to sort of bring himself to being like what his namesake is. He doesn't want to be a beast. He's like one of the more human people and one of the smartest X-Men in here. So yeah, like I like that a lot, and like what his episode entails is really really cool. It's also the Wolverine centric episode, so it's mostly about them. It's mostly about him and Beast, which I think it's mostly a Beast episode, but there is some Wolverine stuff in there. So it's mostly a both of them episode. But yeah, no, I really do like it, and how I guess his how I guess like his pardon affected people and all that stuff. Like we see a lot of that in this show. So I like that, and how Beast handles that is really cool. And obviously he's Beast, he's smart. So Yeah, he's like he sometimes doesn't get to his head because he can't really do much about it, and he feels powerless and all that. So, you know, it is sad, but I I do I do like what they did with Beast here. Okay, so moving on to some other X-Men, specifically Cyclops, Jubilee, Jean Grey, and Professor X. They didn't really do much this season. They didn't get any episodes. Jubilee, I thought, would be our sort of main character for the show. Yeah, here she did get to do some things, especially with that Colossus episode, but it wasn't about her, and she really it was mostly it was much more of a Colossus episode. So yeah, there wasn't much for Jubilee this season. But even though I thought she was going to be sort of our anchor to this new to the X-Men, but that wasn't the case. Jean Grey, a lot of the episodes are about Cyclops and Jean Grey's relationship, but they don't. There's never something about them separate, like them as just Cyclops or just Cyclops or just Jean Grey. It's both at the same time. I would have liked to seen I would have liked to seen some episodes about their history, maybe together or at least like separate histories, because this season does revolve a lot around, not a lot, but definitely like Mr. Sinister is the main villain of the season. Really wants both Cyclops and Jean Grey, so I think having episodes about them both, a respective episode on one and then the respective episode on the other, I feel like could have worked. And maybe one on both would have given a bigger emphasis on their relationship in the show, in the season, but that isn't the case here, which is sad because they don't really do much aside from Cyclops leading the team and Jean Grey not doing much and Jubilee getting sidelined. So yeah, there's just not much I can say. And Professor X, he's on his own goddamn thing with Magneto, which we don't really see him a lot, but yeah, he is pretty much the same thing that happened last season, where Professor X was like decommissioned for several episodes. So there's not much different from what happens with with X-Men 97, where it's just no Professor X. I thought like in this show we would see a lot more Professor X, but that's not the case at all. It's mainly just him taking a vacation for a few episodes. That's really about it for Professor X. Another character, a character that was technically part of the X-Men crew for both X-Men 97 and the last season, but we didn't really see much about him, was Morph. Morph comes back. I kind of already knew Morph would come back because he is in X-Men 97. We don't get how he changes appearance in any sense of the word. And like how he goes from this current appearance to X-Men 97. We'll see if that's ever addressed. But aside from that, I like what they did with Morph in the season. What I felt Morph was in the first season was like this character, this character they made for the show, because he was made for the show, that they killed off to like raise stakes because and then they brought him back. It was not even like addressed in the first season, like when they teased Mr. Sinister. It was just kind of Morph comes back here, and that's really about it for that any setup for Morph, really. But I like what they did with Morph here, like him throughout the season, sort of trying to deal with this darker self that Mr. Sinister kind of planted into him. So I really like that. And sure, he comes back at the end of the season, but it was kind of abrupt. And it's kind of abrupt how it happens in the finale. But yeah, I like what they did with Morph and him not just kind of joining the team immediately. I like that it's a slow, gradual build up. Sure, we don't really see him a lot throughout the show, but he does cause a lot of mayhem and it's kind of a big part in the earlier episodes and definitely during the later episodes. So cool, really cool what they did with Morph. And our final sort of like big character I want to talk about is Mr. Sinister. At the end of the last season, Mr. Sinister was kind of was shown off, but he had a very goofy voice, and they fixed it. I think his voice in X-Men '97 is a lot better, and in here it's a lot closer to that voice. And Mr. Sinister here, I think, is much more of a menace. I like what they do with him, and sure, he's a bit sort of a generic villain, him wanting the DNA of X-Men and wanting to do all of that, but I think he works, and it's mostly about how he affected Morph, and I feel like his evil intentions are better exemplified with what he did to Morph, rather than like his genuine, I guess, mannerisms throughout the show. Even though I do think he's a bit comically evil and all that, but yeah, I like Mr. Sinister. I would have liked to see him more throughout the season, and built him up more, but yeah, just whatever, I guess. So some other characters I want to mention, Miss Marvel. I liked like how they implemented her into the origins of Rogue, and how they didn't shy away from that, and we're seeing the inklings of a shared universe between this animated Marvel universe that is being shown off here. Colossus got a big episode about him, and I really do like that. I feel like Colossus should be a mainstay, but I'm not sure if they will actually sort of, they will let him do that. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure that happens later on. I think that's really about it. Magneto does some things, but that's besides the point. But yeah, I'll talk more about the plot. So, without further ado, let's get into the plot. I like that we got, again, I've been talking about the character-centric episodes. I like that we got character-centric episodes. I feel like that was something that was missing from the show, and something that maybe the show shy away from a little bit, at least the first season. And I like that a lot, that we got origins of these characters and how different their backgrounds are and how they came together as the X-Men. So yeah, I really do appreciate that. Sure, I know I said that Wolverine got a lot of them, but a big chunk of these kinds of episodes. But yeah, and I know, and I said that I would have liked to see some from Cyclops, Jubilee, and Jean Grey. Jubilee technically already has like her origin episode there, with that being like, I think the like the two-parter series like pilots. So yeah, I know that Jubilee already got sort of a time to be like the main character, the protagonist of like a part of the story. But I would have liked to seen some from Cyclops and Jean Grey. I know Professor X we might get some later on. But aside from that, like I would have liked to see Cyclops and Jean Grey for the reasons that I said earlier. But that's, again, besides the point. Yeah, I like that they gave us these sort of episodes, and throughout the show we had this overarching plot with the Savage Land. it doesn't really come into play a lot, and it's like I think my main critique about the show is the Savage Land arc. It's not it. We don't focus on it as much as I think the show should have. Because like Professor X and Magneto, it's like I think second episode they get stranded there, and it's mostly dead silent about them, and we don't really see much. Sure, there's some things sprinkled throughout the episodes, but it's never a lot, and it's mostly there to sort of add to the mystery. But I feel like the mystery is never answered, and I feel like the mystery is kind of hollow. Because in the show, most of these segments are like, ooh, this master that is controlling the everything. But like, it's not much of a mystery because we know that Morph led Magneto and Professor X to this location, to the Savage Land. And these guys are talking about a master. It's like, ooh, who could be the master? It's fucking Mr. Sinister. It's so obviously Mr. Sinister that I don't know how anybody else could have gotten any other, like, answer out of that. And also, I feel like some of the mystery got a little bit hollow because of the origins of the mutates that inhabit the Savage Land. It's explained that they are Magneto spawn, but we never really see any of that or like see any explanation about that at all. It's just mostly kind of brushed under the rug. So it's a big complaint. I feel like a lot of the Savage Land stuff could have been fixed if we had much more of a focus on it. And another thing that I don't like, or at least like this is not about the Savage Land, but mostly about like the structure of this, is like again like Morph throughout the season is struggling with his darker side, and we see him trying to like going back into his good side, and at the end he just suddenly like a light switch, a switch flips in his head, and he is suddenly a good guy for the rest of the season, for the rest of the finale. What? I thought like it would be a lot more climactic, like his return to the X-Men, but no, it's mostly just kind of there. Especially after they had it like built up for so much throughout the season, it just kind of it was just very anticlimactic. And another thing about the structure, I didn't like a lot of what the Storm episode introduced on the side of the main villain, which like was about like that Professor X imprisoned him there and he's gonna get revenge on Storm. I feel like it would have been a lot better if it was much more Storm focused. That episode, I think it should have been less about this entity wanting revenge against the X-Men and mostly just wanting revenge against Storm. That's really it. And not having that sort of tie to Professor X and all that stuff. I feel like that would have been a lot better. But yeah, no, I feel like this season was a very, very big step up for the show. And I can definitely see it getting better from now. There's a lot of good stuff here. I feel like some of the stuff in this show could have been handled a lot better, but I think that this season, vast improvement, and my rating for it is the A tier. Yeah, I didn't really get into the rating, but yeah, that's my main concern about the whole thing. It's really good. It's great, but there's a lot of stuff that's mismanaged, and I feel like could have been touched up and made into a really, really good thing. There's a really good base in here. It just needed a better execution. But yeah, that's really about it. What did you guys think about... That was very abrupt. What did you guys think about the season? Leave in the comments below. Like I said, next time we might see... I might be a little more critical about the animation and action because it might get a bit weird. But yeah, next time I do promise that next time will be actually the Phoenix stuff, which hopefully the Phoenix stuff is very good. It's like a 5-part like whole arc, so we'll see. But yeah, leave your opinions in the comments below. All of our socials on the description. If you're listening to us on Spotify, follow us if you want to see more of our content. Rate us if you think we're good. If you're watching this on YouTube, Subscribe if you want to see more of the content. Like if you like this episode, and share around if you think it's worth sharing. And yeah, no, that's about it. See ya.